Sometimes you just feel it, right? Like a big shift is happening under the surface.
Yeah, definitely. A real turning point, maybe.
Well, that's kind of what we're digging into today. The way this next generation is connecting with a really global purpose. We've got some fascinating reflections
It's
here.
quite a moment, isn't it? You've got this deep human desire meeting, well, all these new possibilities.
Absolutely. We're looking at, the urgent need, but also the really exciting potential when young people get involved in global mission. We've got sources looking at how mission itself is changing, what drives young people today, practical ways they're actually doing it, and the vital roles of mentorship and, yes, technology.
Right.
So the big question for our listeners is, what are the key takeaways? What really matters here?
Exactly. How do we cut through all the noise and find the core of what's significant about this whole movement?
Yeah, our goal is really to pull out those key insights, those aha moments, to give you a clear picture of this shift and, frankly, why it needs our attention right now. We want to give you something solid, but, easy to digest. Spark some interest without being overwhelming.
Makes sense.
Okay, so let's jump right in. A really central idea here, it keeps coming up, is how the sort of traditional view of mission, it's really being reshaped.
Fundamentally, yeah.
And young people are right at the heart of that change. It's not just they're the future, they're involved now.
It definitely challenges some older assumptions, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The sources seem to say it's not just a slow change, it's more of a deep rethink of what mission even looks like today.
Exactly. And there's this risk, it's highlighted quite a bit, this gap between the old ways and the sheer energy young people bring. It's like having this amazing resource, but not quite knowing how to plug it in.
And if that gap stays there, or gets wider, well, you could see mission work becoming less effective, maybe even stagnating a bit. The material really calls for being more adaptive.
Which brings us to the opportunity side, right? Reimagining mission. Things like modern mentorship, discipleship that's really targeted, and using digital tools effectively.
And that's key, right? Meeting them where they actually are.
In their spaces, the ways they connect naturally.
And what's interesting is that these aren't just like add-ons. They seem to represent a real reassessment of how mission works best in the 21st century.
Totally. And with the world changing so fast, global connections being instant, cultures shifting all the time, just clinging to old models, well, it risks just not working anymore.
You get left behind.
Right. Organizations that don't engage youth properly might just find themselves out of step. It's like using yesterday's map for today's journey.
Yeah, that really underlines the need to be agile, willing to try new ways of doing things in mission.
Definitely. Because the flip side is if you do embrace things like short-term trips done well, good mentorship, smart digital strategies, that gives you a real lasting edge. You're tapping into something vibrant.
And looking bigger picture, it's not just about getting younger people involved. It's about making the whole mission effort stronger, more relevant overall.
And, for anyone listening, just think about it. The digital age changed everything about connection and communication. So sticking rigidly to pre-digital mission approaches, you risk missing out on so many fresh ideas, new perspectives, game-changing stuff, potentially.
It's almost like the sources are saying the digital world itself is a mission field now.
Yeah.
A really dynamic one you just can't ignore.
So, okay, if we want to get young people mobilized, we really need to understand them, right? What actually drives them? What are their values, their hopes? What makes them want to jump in?
That's a crucial question. What motivates this generation? And maybe how is that different from, say, previous ones?
Well, purpose is huge. That comes up again and again. Millennials, Gen Z, they have this really deep desire for meaning, to be part of something bigger than just themselves. So framing global mission as like a chance to actively join in God's work of fixing things, restoring things, that really hits home as a powerful story.
And when you think about it, mission provides such a clear way to meet that basic human need to make a difference, right? To matter.
And their commitment to justice, too. It's really deep-seated. So mission work that tackles stuff like systemic poverty or human trafficking or environmental issues that really clicks with them. They want to see real change.
It's fascinating how those values line up so well with what Christian mission is often about. It's less about convincing them to care, maybe, and more about connecting their existing passions to real action.
Couldn't agree more. And then there's the digital native thing. They can connect globally like no generation before. I mean, think about it. Every online friend, every connection is a potential collaborator in this work. The reach is just incredible.
Which raises that point about how we can ethically, effectively use that digital fluency for mission. It's not just about having a website, it's about real, meaningful engagement online.
Okay, let's shift a bit to some foundational principles for meaningful engagement. First up, the theological roots.
Right.
Mission isn't just an activity, it's presented as core to God's heart for the world. It runs all the way through the Bible, Genesis to Revelation. It's meant to be a lifestyle, not just an optional extra.
Yeah, the sources really stress that holistic view, don't they? Where mission isn't separate, it's just part of what it means to live out your faith.
And then absolutely vital is discipleship and mentorship. Young people navigating this crazy, fast-changing world, they need guidance.
For sure.
Experienced believers walking alongside them. And that discipleship, it needs to be grounded, right? In scripture, in prayer, in depending on the Holy Spirit, a solid anchor.
And thinking long-term, that sustained involvement in mission really depends on that deep spiritual foundation, that ongoing guidance. It's not a one-off thing.
And thirdly, empowerment, real empowerment. We need to create actual platforms for young people to lead.
Not just participate, but lead.
Exactly. Lead teams, share their own stories and experiences. It's about equipping them, knowledge, skills, spiritual maturity, not just directing them.
That really brings up the question of trust, doesn't it? Are established leaders willing to actually hand over real responsibility to young people?
That's a big one. Okay, so practical strategies. How do we actually do this? Well, one big theme is rethinking mission for today's world. Moving beyond one-size-fits-all. Embracing flexible stuff like digital missions, virtual missions, using their online life for kingdom work. The mission field might be their laptop screen.
It's really interesting how those geographical lines are blurring. Technology has just broadened the whole definition of where mission happens.
And creating accessible ways in, different entry points, short-term trips, sure, but also local outreach, projects where different generations work together. That builds understanding.
Yeah, offering a range of options seems crucial. Not everyone's called to the same thing, so having diverse ways to engage makes sense.
Totally. And never underestimate storytelling. Real, powerful testimony. Sharing stories, inspiring ones, challenging ones about what God's doing globally, that can really grab their imagination, ignite that passion. Stories connect deeply.
Although it has to be authentic, right? Young people have a good radar for anything that feels fake or overly polished.
So true. Transparency is key. And then investing in training. Real development.
Right. Equipping them.
Yeah, skills like cross-cultural communication, understanding complex global issues, practical ministry tools that helps them make a real lasting impact wherever they end up serving. Passion needs preparation.
It's interesting that shift towards equipping for sustainable contribution, not just a quick experience.
Now, let's touch on the urgency here. Demographics alone tell a story. Young people are a huge and growing part of the global population. This is a critical moment, not something for down the road.
Yeah, when you look at those numbers, the potential for global mission is just massive if we connect with this generation effectively.
And the challenges they're inheriting, social injustice, environmental crises, spiritual needs, these huge issues demand that energy, that creativity, that idealism young people often bring. The needs are urgent.
It does make you think, though, with problems that big, how do you channel that passion effectively without it just feeling overwhelming?
That's a fair point. But what seems clear from the sources is that relying only on the old ways established institutions, older generations alone, it just won't cut it.
Yeah, the status quo isn't enough.
The next generation can't just wait politely. The time for them to be involved, really involved, is now.
It's striking how directly the material challenges that idea that past methods are sufficient. It's a call for something more inclusive, more forward-looking.
And underlying all this, there's a theological drive, right? Mission is presented as God's heartbeat, this continuous thing passed down through generations. So their active role isn't just nice to have, it's painted as a spiritual necessity, continuing the story.
Looking at that big picture, mission is this thread through history. And this generation absolutely has its part to play right now.
So how do we connect with their specific way of seeing the world? We have to acknowledge their idealism, that desire to change things, but also their practical side. They want to see tangible results. So we need to invite them to shape mission in ways that speak to their concerns and use their gifts, technology, social justice ideas, digital platforms.
That raises that interesting idea of co-creation, doesn't it? Are we genuinely open to letting young people shape the direction? Or do we just want them to fit into our existing boxes?
Great question. And authenticity is paramount. They can spot anything fake a mile off.
Absolutely.
So the invitation has to be to a real holistic mission experience, something woven into their whole lives, not just a weekend activity.
Yeah, that theme of authenticity just keeps surfacing as core for this generation. Any mission engagement has to feel real, be transparent, to truly connect.
Okay, let's dive deeper into relational investment. Mentorship, discipleship. It's stressed that young people need more than just information. They need relationships, real guidance, discipleship that actually changes them.
Yeah, if we're hoping for lasting impact, it's clear that real change doesn't just come from knowing stuff. It comes from lives influencing other lives.
So intentional mentorship, carefully pairing them with experienced people, missionaries, leaders that provides models, right? It shows them what living on mission looks like day to day, helps turn ideals into action.
The practical challenge there, though, is how do we find enough willing, equipped mentors, and how do we make those connections effectively?
Good point. And the discipleship itself needs to really integrate mission, not just learn theology over here and do mission over there. It connects understanding with doing right out in the world.
Yeah, it's a call for discipleship where mission isn't like an elective, but a natural outflow of a transformed life.
And spiritual formation underpins it all. It has to. Mission starts in the heart, doesn't it? Rooted in that deep relationship with God. That's the foundation.
Absolutely. For mission engagement to be sustainable and effective long-term, that strong spiritual core is essential.
And we have to talk about leadership development, actually nurturing future leaders, giving them real chances to take initiative, to lead in mission settings.
Which leads back to creating clear pathways, right? How do young people actually step into leadership and get the support they need when they do?
Exactly. And creating safe spaces, places where they can ask the hard questions, wrestle with doubts. Encouraging that exploration often leads to a stronger, more owned faith. Honest questions aren't a lack of faith, they're often part of digging deeper.
It's good to see that recognized. That doubt isn't the enemy, and having supportive places to talk about it is crucial for growth.
Okay, now let's tackle something tricky, moving beyond mission tourism. We have to be honest about the downsides of short-term trips that sometimes feel more about the visitor's experience than about lasting change for the community.
Yeah, ethically, you have to think about the real impact, right?
Yeah.
And prioritize the long-term good and empowerment of the people being served.
So the push is towards partnership, real collaboration, where local churches, local leaders are true partners, making sure efforts meet actual needs, build trust, working with, not just for.
That's such a critical point about power dynamics and mission. The need for humility, for being willing to learn from, even be led by local partners.
And focusing on skill-based help can be really powerful too. Tailoring teams to bring specific expertise that a community actually needs. That leads to more lasting impact, real empowerment, offering genuine value.
It's interesting. That move towards more specialized contributions, it can lead to better outcomes for everyone involved.
And follow-up is huge.
Yeah.
Long-term follow-up, keeping those relationships going with local partners, that ensures continuity, shared responsibility. The mission doesn't end when the plane takes off.
Yeah, building those long-term relationships based on trust and respect seems absolutely fundamental.
We also need good debriefing and integration after the trip, helping people process what they saw, what they learned, and figuring out how to weave that into their lives back home. That's how a short trip becomes a catalyst for ongoing change.
That raises the question of how best to support that reflection process, helping them integrate those experiences into their worldview.
And finally, the focus needs to be on learning as much as doing, maybe more.
Right.
Encouraging listening, being open, building real relationships. Humility, recognizing we often have just as much to learn, maybe more.
It's good to see that emphasis on learning. That mission is often a two-way street.
Okay, let's shift gears to technology. How can it be a tool for kingdom impact? We've got to start by acknowledging they are digital natives. Tech isn't the enemy here. It's actually a huge mission field itself.
Yeah, thinking about where people spend their time and interact today, ignoring the digital space means ignoring a massive part of the global community.
Sharing inspiring stories visually through social media, that can really spark passion, raise awareness. Digital platforms are connection engines.
Though it brings up that need for responsible, ethical use of social media in mission contexts, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And creating online communities for connection, encouragement, spiritual growth. Think online small groups, Bible studies. Building community digitally.
It's fascinating how those digital communities can just leap over geography, connecting people across the globe.
We can even do virtual mission experiences now, using video calls, other tech to engage with mission work in real time. Cross-cultural learning, support from afar, bringing the field to them in a way.
And thinking about access, virtual missions open doors for people who maybe can't travel physically. It broadens participation.
And digital discipleship using online resources like ebooks, podcasts, courses. It makes growth flexible, accessible, learning anytime, anywhere.
The question there is how digital discipleship best works alongside, enhances the traditional face-to-face stuff.
Right. Now, what about overcoming apathy? Or even resistance? How do we address that? Well, skepticism needs honesty. Being transparent about past failures, showing accountability, building real partnerships where local leaders are empowered. Trust is built on integrity.
It's good to hear that emphasis on learning from mistakes and building something more trustworthy and collaborative.
And we can fight that feeling of compassion fatigue by telling stories of hope, resilience, positive change, highlighting tangible results, inspiring action by showing real impact, not just the overwhelming need.
Yeah, finding that balance is key, isn't it? Acknowledging the struggles, but also celebrating the wins, the positive steps.
And we need to tackle financial barriers actively. Fundraising support, scholarships, cost sharing, making sure money isn't the main thing, stopping passionate young people from getting involved.
That's crucial for inclusivity, isn't it? Making sure these opportunities aren't just for the well-off.
And empowering their voice.
Yeah.
Really creating platforms for young leaders to collaborate, share their unique insights. Their perspectives can add so much value.
Yeah, recognizing they bring fresh eyes, innovative ideas.
Yeah.
That's vital for keeping mission effective.
Okay, so how do we really ignite passion? Make those connections meaningful? Well, we need to link mission to what they already care deeply about.
Right, their core concern.
Exactly. Social justice, climate change, mental health. Show how mission work actually engages with those issues in tangible ways. Make it relevant to their world.
Connecting mission to those big, pressing global challenges can be a really powerful motivator. Seeing it as part of the solution.
And using powerful storytelling, personal, visual, authentic stories of lives changed, video showing real-world impact. Let them see the difference.
Though, again, always with that ethical lens, ensuring dignity and privacy for those whose stories are shared.
Crucial point. And creating chances for first-hand experience.
Yeah.
Local projects, well-planned short-term trips, domestic or international. Getting involved directly builds that sense of ownership.
Yeah, that direct experience often seems to be the spark for deeper, longer-lasting commitment.
And aiming for long-term engagement. Weaving mission into the fabric of youth culture in faith communities. Providing clear next steps, pathways for staying involved. Making it part of their ongoing journey.
Yeah, cultivating that culture of mission within the generation itself seems key for long-term impact.
Finally, let's talk equipping. Mission training programs. It's stressed how vital, intensive, intentional, holistic training is. Passion is great, but preparation is key.
Yeah, which brings up questions about, are there enough good, accessible training programs out there?
Good question. And the training needs that balance, right? Theory and practice. Theological depth connected to real-world challenges.
Right.
Grounded and practical.
It's interesting that call for a really comprehensive approach covering the spiritual foundations and the practical skills needed.
And some key foundations mentioned are cross-cultural competency, language basics, sensitivity, building relationships across cultures, leadership development, servant leadership, teamwork, resilience, and spiritual formation prayer, Bible study, spiritual disciplines.
When you think about how complex mission can be, yeah, those foundations seem absolutely essential for doing it well and sustainably.
And the programs themselves need to be adaptable, not one size fits all. Customized tracks maybe, ongoing learning, mentorship built in.
Which means needing flexibility in how training is designed and delivered.
Yeah.
Right? To fit different gifts, callings, contexts.
Absolutely. And the partnership between churches and mission organizations is vital here, working together. Integrated ministry, strong local and global partnerships. That's essential for effective training and sending.
It's good to see that call for collaboration, realizing that effective training needs everyone working together.
So yeah, to kind of wrap it all up, the energy, the passion, the digital native skills of this next generation, it's not just the future of mission. It's a powerful, vital force right now. And if we really understand what drives them, adapt how we do things, and equip them well, the potential for global impact is just immense.
It really hammers home that message, doesn't it? The urgency is real, but so is the opportunity. It demands our attention.
So for you listening, as you think about your own world, your own influence, What's maybe one small intentional step you could take, maybe this week, to connect with or support mobilizing young people for something bigger than themselves? What did this deep dive maybe reveal about your part in this really important unfolding story?
That's the takeaway challenge, isn't it? How can each person listening translate these ideas into action in their own context? How can they be part of this vital movement?
This has been, well, just a glimpse really into something complex, but also really inspiring. We definitely encourage you to keep exploring, look into the resources, the organizations doing this work, your curiosity, your engagement. That's key to understanding and maybe participating in this vital shift.